Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of Street Level Floppies, episode number 10. We have hit the double digits, folks. So this is a bit of a celebration. We made it to 10, Fred.
Yep, we did.
Survived. Let's see if we can survive 10 more. So tonight is kind of a special episode. Besides our normal comic book talk, we have a special guest later. We have John Robinson IV, the creator of Scorpio, his new comic book that's in the middle of a Kickstarter as we speak. We're going to talk to him about his book, about the Kickstarter, and just a general joy of comic books. So we look forward to that later in the show. Also, I wanted to remind everyone we are members of the Nation of Nerds. We are here to educate, entertain, and introduce you to new comic books. And today, one way we're going to introduce you to new comic books is something new. So we're going to talk about a Kickstarter that we had a chance to check out that is going on just for Halloween. The name of this comic is called Our Final Halloween. 5 kids wake up in an abandoned house. They don't know why they're there, how they got there, or whose blood they're covered in. Co-created by Mike Garley. He's worked on Adventure Time, The Kill Screen, Samurai Slasher, and his co-creator is Michael Lee Graham, who has worked on Hero Complex Gallery, Dead Roots. Our Final Halloween is a 34-page horror one-shot full of monsters, mystery, blood, and surprises. Our Final Halloween tells the story of a diverse group of characters who need to band together to fight an ancient evil in this John Carpenter, H.P. Lovecraft-inspired 80s horror romp. So, Fred, we had a chance to read a digital version of this book. It's a Kickstarter that is going on for this month. It will end on the 30th and then be released on the 31st. So it's a Halloween book. This is a Halloween Kickstarter to celebrate Halloween. What'd you think of the project?
I thought this book was pretty well done. It kind of gives me a feel of something that you would find. I know we do an indie podcast here, so it kind of reminds me of like a type of book that you would find from Black Crown. Kind of like a House of Muck style, sort of like that. It was good. I like the art. I thought it's perfect timing for this book. I mean, it's right before Halloween, so that put me into the frame of mind of reading this for the excitement. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I think it was a neat little Kickstarter to do something like that. That you do the what's the word I'm looking for? You run it through the month of October and culminating with you getting your book just in time for Halloween. Yes. The book, it's straight out of a horror movie. Your basic plot of kids being trapped somewhere. They don't trust each other, but yet they have to work together to get away, get out of this abandoned home because there's supernatural things going on. And
yes. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. It was a nice little Halloween read.
Right. And I mean, there's definitely no shortage of blood in this book. That's for sure.
No. Yes, the artist likes to draw blood. There's no doubt about it. Some gory panels. But are they real or are they all in their mind? You have to wonder as you read this book.
I guess you're gonna have to back this Kickstarter to find out.
Yeah, I mean, you have about 2 weeks left, a week and a half, and to check it out.
And I think right now they're just under $600.
Ooh, they're close. Definitely.
Yeah, it's real close. It's very affordable. I've seen the pricing, the tiers. Definitely, I would take a look and check that out if this is your type of stuff, especially if you're looking for horror.
Yeah, definitely. Fans of horror, give it a shout. Look at the Kickstarter, watch the video, maybe see what you think. Yeah, give it a look. Yeah. I forgot the name of the publisher again.
Is it Gutter Magic?
Yes, Gutter Magic.
Yeah, you can check out guttermagic.com, CA. Go on Kickstarter.com and go fund this book. Go back it.
Definitely. It's something we like to do. We like to showcase creators and their books. One of the things we enjoy. So now we're going to move on to our reviews for this week. So that we have more time to talk with John later in the podcast, we're only going to do 4 books. But something I just kind of wanted to mention. When we do our podcast, there's a lot of books, of course, that we'd like to talk about, and sometimes they don't make the show. But don't think we're not reading them, especially Fred over here. So I'm going to throw a plug for our Twitter page, Street Level Floppy. If you're not following us, you're missing out, because if you haven't guessed yet, Fred runs the page for the most part. Chris and I do post occasionally, but it's mostly Fred. And there you can hear about some of these gems that maybe didn't make the cut on the show due to time constraints, and find out about some books that you may be missing. And I want to thank Fred for handling that and, sharing that and creating conversation about some really good books. And we can't get it all on the show, is basically what I'm saying. So follow us there and learn about some new books that are also dropping. Cool. All right. Well, let's get into our first review. The first one of the night is Exorsisters #1. Did you sign a deal with the devil? Has your fiancé been dragged to hell? Then Kate, Harrow, should be the first ones you call for timely soul retrieval at a reasonable rate. But why are these identical twins so different? Is there a dark secret? Written by Ian Boothby. Art and cover Giselle Langrace. Colorist Pete Panzis. Letters by Taylor Esposito. Variant cover Pia Guerrera. Also a variant cover by Carey. And a variant cover by David LaFuente. The editor is Brainwine Bigglestone. And it's published by Image. Exorsisters. What'd you think, Fred?
Well, one reason to pick up this book is Taylor Esposito. That's all you need. He's lettering that. And meanwhile, while saying that, shout out to all the letterers out there, the comic books unsung heroes. And in this book, we meet Kate and Kate, which Andrew mentioned. They are detectives of a supernatural agency where they deal with demons, take business round trips to hell. And through portals that they summon. Wild, right? This book right here, man. What I liked about this book really is it kind of has like a feel of a Archie art, kind of like Dan Parent. Parent draws, like, and it makes it fun. The dialogue was fun, especially like there's certain things like the art, like the demon. There's this demon that's dressed up playing house. I thought that was hilarious. I thought this book was really entertaining. The sisters are lovable and charming. There's a spoiler at the end, or should I say cliffhanger at the last page, that makes you wonder where this is going. But honestly, when I picked up this book, seeing the name Exorsisters, I was thinking it was going to be dark. But this book is fun.
Yeah, without a doubt. The Archie. That's all I could think as I read it. Archie. And I did look her up. She did actually draw some Archie comics.
Oh, did
someone was smart enough to get her to do Archie. But she's also drawn some other comics that are for a mature audience.
I see those.
But this book, you're right. I didn't know what to expect. I thought we were going to get one of those dreary, scary, dark horror books. And you're right. It's fun. It's hack and slash type fun, if you've ever read hack and slash. While maybe they're dealing with supernatural and demons and stuff like that, there's a lot of humor. And there's a lot of fun banter between the two sisters. They're definitely very different from each other. And I just had a good time. It was a nice book to read from an indie book that didn't take itself too seriously. Because sometimes indie books, while they do earn it, they can sometimes be really serious. And this book just had fun. And
I was just gonna say, like, one other thing is it's not short on like the coloring. This book was pretty bright. It kind of had a feel kind of like Bully Wars in a way, like its brightness and colors. And maybe that's because I found the art so much like an Archie art style that I enjoyed the colors more too. But I really like this book. I'm interested in more of it. It had me with Taylor lettering it, so you already knew that. So nice little book.
I made sure it wasn't an Archie book. That's how much I thought it might be one. It's like, wait a minute, this could be a new. Because Archie does horror now, and this could easily have fallen into that line of books that they do now. Mm-hmm. So good on them. Good book. I enjoyed it very much. What kind of score would you give Exorsisters?
I would give it a 4. I enjoyed it. It was good. I'm interested to see more of it. Yeah, if it continues to bring the humor and the funny banter between the characters, yeah, this is gonna be a fun book.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3.5. I enjoyed it. I laughed a lot. It's not gonna like blow your socks off maybe, but if you just want to have a good time and read a fun comic, there's nothing wrong with reading a fun comic now and then. Definitely pick up Exosisters. All right, the next book we are looking at is Skyward number 7. Here There Be Dragonflies. Part 2. Willa's alone in the middle of the forest surrounded by giant insects that want to make her dinner. But here to the rescue comes a badass group of sword-wielding farmers. Written by Joe Henderson. Art and cover by Lee Garbett. Colorist Antonio Fabela. Letters by Simon Boland. Editor Rick Lopez Jr., published by Image, Skyward. Skyward continues to be one of the best new comic books of the year. While this one may have not been my favorite, as I was telling Fred, it is still a high-scoring book. The story moves along. There's a lot of adventure. We get introduced to a new world and new characters now that we're outside of the city. For me, the insects weren't scary, but maybe to some people they were a bit frightening. Insects that eat people. For me, I kind of chuckled, but I really enjoy it. You still have the theme of the father-daughter, because she helped. The guy asks her why she did what she did, and we all know that she went out the door from last time because she did not want to see a father-daughter relationship destroyed. Very good book, beautiful writing, well written as always. Skyward is definitely a book that I recommend highly that people should be subbing to.
I would agree. This book had some great visuals, I would say, with Willa taking on the big bugs. That was pretty interesting. I mean, the art and the colors in this is very visually pleasing. One of my favorite parts of this book was they ride on butterflies. That's pretty badass. It kind of made me feel like we mentioned this earlier between us, like Journey to the Center of Earth, where they had like the big bugs with the rock in the movie.
Yeah,
I think that's what the movie's called, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that was great. Man, like this whole story arc, or this is the second arc, but this whole since the beginning, what is this, issue 7? Willa has been like a really joy to follow. She's somebody to root for. She is not afraid to take chances. She kind of acts before she thinks.
Yeah.
Which makes it even more fun because sometimes I can be reactionary, so I can see where she comes from.
Nice.
But yeah, I really like this book. I'm probably going to score it much higher than Andrew, but I like this book this week. It's probably like my favorite of the week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good book. And, there's just enough tension when she's out there. Like, could someone float away? Could they float away? I mean, there's just enough of that edge when they're floating with no gravity that it keeps you invested in whatever's happening. And then, like you said, the introduction of these new characters and the fact that they ride on the insects and
don't forget the cliffhanger at the end.
Oh, yeah.
That part, I was like, uh-oh, what's going to happen next?
Yeah. So we're in for a little bit of a shocker in that one. But yeah, it was great. And I don't know if you read at the back of it, Joel Henderson talks about why he picked insects. And he really had a scientific reason. He really broke it down that based on the lack of gravity is what would cause the insects to get that big, that there's a possible theory that's why insects don't grow bigger. And it was pretty interesting. So he didn't just like randomly pick insects. He really did some thought into why the insects would be bigger. Yeah, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, is that his pitch that you're speaking of in the back of the book? Okay, yeah, I did. I glanced. I gave it a little quick once over. Yeah, it was definitely interesting. It's also interesting just to see what a pitch looks like before it's made into a book. That was interesting to me.
So but go ahead.
I was just gonna say this is like probably one of the best teams or one of the top teams on books, like with like Lee Garbett and is it Antonio Fabela? Yeah, like this is a really good team, and I'm gonna score this a 5.
Wow. Yeah,
Yes.
see, I didn't see it as high this week. I'm gonna give it
Yeah.
a 4. That's where I'm at with this one.
I'm gonna stick with the 5, and it's hard for me to give out 5. So, but I've been enjoying this title, this run. And maybe I'm just playing off the last issue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm for sure that people probably would enjoy it even more in trade form
Yeah.
when it comes out. Like it's better that way to read. But man, because I read the issue prior before it and then read this one, this is a great book.
Yeah, the first trade is out for the first arc, folks.
Hmm.
If you want to get into the first 4 comics, you can definitely grab a hold of that first trade. And that first arc was outstanding, if you ask me. It was definitely the way it introduced the gravity. Now it's a different scenario. It's in the city, where now we're out in the woods. It's really amazing, and you get to know Willa very well and what makes her tick. Yeah, good book. All right. The next book is Gideon Falls number 7, Original Sins, Part 1. After the mind-blowing events of the first arc, Norton digs deeper into the mystery of the Black Barn, and secrets of his past begin to come to light. Meanwhile, Father Fred does some digging of his own and learns the hard way that some secrets should just stay buried. Written by Jeff Lemire. Art and cover, Andrea Sorrentino, I believe. Colorist Dave Stewart. Letters by Steve Wands. Variant cover Tula Lotte. Editor Will Dennis. Published by Image. Gideon Falls. Fred.
Okay, to start off, if you have listened to our podcast past episodes, or even follow me on Twitter, you know how big of a fan I am of Jeff Lemire's writing. With that being said, you have been warned. I'm about to fanboy out. Okay, so this is a new story arc. I really don't suggest jumping on at issue 7 without reading the previous 6. This issue is written from multiple character angles. What I mean by this is it kind of feels like a soap opera in a way. There are many, or should I say multiple stories going on at once.
Yeah.
That's typical in Jeff Lemire's writing style. Just as he's done, for instance, Black Hammer, Royal City, Sweet Tooth. Do you find it in a few of those books?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. Even his Bloodshot, he had multiple stories going.
Yeah, yeah. Now, the title of this arc is called The Sum of Its Parts, which is perfect for this issue. For instance, in this issue, Father Fred, he struggles with his faith, and does he believe in the Black Barn? I'm starting to wonder.
Yeah, I'm still not sure if he does or not.
Yeah, but he's questioning his faith. I'm thinking. Now Clara, she has some questions. She's questioning the mystery surrounding her brother's disappearance, her father, and even was it the bus driver named Joe Reddy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this that all falls in that pieces part, the sum of the pieces where he titled this. Not to mention Dr. Yu? Is that what the doctor's name is?
Amanda Yu, I think, maybe, because I think that you go by the
or
first
is
name
it
a little
Angela
more.
or
Angela? Maybe it's Amanda or Angela.
Yeah, something with the A. and Norman literally trying to piece the Black Barn together from screws, scrap wood, things like that, which is very interesting in this book. Now, the art by Sorrentino, it's beautiful for this book. Like, if you're looking like to add the eeriness, somewhat scariness, the art makes this a thrilling ride, in my opinion. What did you think about this, Andrew?
Yeah, like you said, the art. I'll touch that first. The facial expressions in this book. Mm-hmm. She does a really good job of showing fear in the eyes, the mouth, when it's like kind of open and ready, like in a silent scream. Just really well done. There's so many moments like that in this book. There's so many moments where people would be shocked into silence. I really like this book. You're right. This isn't really the one to jump on. We've kind of stayed away from Gideon Falls, not because it's a good book, because it's a little difficult to review in that sense. Every book has been great in this run. But if you're going to read Gideon Falls, you need to read Gideon Falls from 1 and stay going in order. It's not something you just kind of jump on randomly. There's a pretty intricate tale that's being told.
Right.
And this, like you said, this episode is starting to put pieces together. And I kind of have some theories, but I'm going to keep them to myself because they've been kind of spoilery. But I kind of starting to have some theories about stuff. And then the end of this book gave us a really scary reveal. Something that I didn't expect. So going forward, I think we're in for a really crazy roller coaster ride.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to make it's going to be a TV show, and this is going to be a great TV show.
Is it for sure, or you're just saying?
Yeah, no, I believe that it's already been pitched and it's in the works. I think it's been a few months back that they did it. Like, I think when he was on issue 4, it was already optioned.
This needs to be on FX or AMC. I won't accept anyone else.
It does feel like an FX, like not like American Horror Story, but like they can do that type of stuff, like blood,
they have that.
Guts, Sons of Anarchy.
Things like Legion that are different. They're willing to take chances on. You need to be willing to take a few chances on a story like this.
Yeah, I forgot what company that's picked it up, but I believe it was around issue 4 when it was optioned.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, this is, once again, Jeff Lemire is doing something amazing. Definitely check out this book, folks. Like I said, though, you want to start from the beginning, so maybe go digital. I don't know, is it trade form yet for that first arc?
Yeah, I think we got the first trade in the PDFs this week.
Oh, okay. So the trade would be the first 6, and then you just go to issue 7, or you can wait for the next trade. It's not the kind of book people spoil, so you're kind of safe to go trade with this one because it's too complex to spoil. You'd have to get into a pretty deep conversation with somebody to get spoiled about things.
Especially with his writing, like he kind of spends a little time with each character that you can't really spoil that.
Yeah, you can't in like one tweet. These are things that you get into a discussion and you can discuss theories that you may have about it or how you've pieced together clues, but you're guessing. So
right. Yeah, I want to say, like, right here, if you guys are listening and you know exactly when this was optioned, or if I'm not daydreaming, hit us up on Twitter and let us know.
Hey,
Mark, help me out here,
optioned, bro. I hate this. It's if it hasn't been optioned, it's gonna be optioned. Pretty much, there's too many streaming services, there's too many channels, and they're all looking for content. And yeah, everything gets optioned now. Yeah. Seems like the thing to do. So, what is your score for Gideon Fall number 7?
I give this book a 4.5. I thought it was good. There's been past issues that were 5s. This one, is kind of building characters and stories, so it's not quite there. But with the last page, the last panel, it's about to get real creepy, I think.
Yeah. I'm going to give it a 4.5. I was really impressed. For the beginning of a new arc, it definitely punched me in the gut to get me excited about for what comes next. And that's what you needed to start a new arc, It definitely said, okay, we're on this next half of the ride. Are you ready for this half of the ride? So,
right.
Yeah, and like I said, I think it filled in some things for me where I was like, oh, I think I know where it's going. So that's fun to formulate ideas where you think something's going.
Definitely.
And last of all, book number 4, Cemetery Beach number 2. Mike Blackburn and Grace Moody are trying to get out of the middle of a secret colony of an unknown exoplanet while trying not to make any noise. It's not working out like that, and the outer families of Second Stage are waiting for them. Utopia is kind of murdery. Written by Warren Ellis. Art and cover Jason Howard. Letters by Phonographics. Published by Image. Cemetery Beach. So if you've heard our show, you know that I loved the first issue of Cemetery Beach. It was probably one of the best comics I'd read in a while. It just really kicked me in the gut. The action, the dialogue, it just went fast and everything. Number 2 dropped a little for me. It tends to happen, though, with some of these comics. Like, it really comes out of the gate fast and hard, and then number 2 kind of spent a lot of time world building for me. And because of that, it took a step back. It's still a great book. I'm still excited to see where it goes. I think the main character is really cool. Grace still has a past that I'm interested to find out. But I wasn't so intrigued with the villain. That was just me. He seemed very, I don't know, cliche. That was all I would say. But the art is great. Solid book. I definitely will keep reading Cemetery Beach.
I have a question for you. The first few panels, the villain, was he wearing a diaper?
Yeah, or like some kind of sumo thing. I'm not quite sure there.
I was wondering that. Like, I kept looking at it. Like, I'm like, is that a diaper?
Yeah.
What is that? Is that his underwear?
That's what passes for underwear on that part of the world, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Or maybe there's like some hints that the leader of that world is a big baby, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm interested. Like, the character, is his name Mike?
Yes, the main character.
He kind of feels like, and I think you mentioned this in the last episode, like he could be played by now I lost the name of Bruce Willis.
Yes.
He seems like a Bruce Willis type character. He has a lot of smart ass things to say. He says things, you know, he kind of lives by like the Stone Cold Steve Austin way of life. DTA, don't trust anyone.
Yeah.
This book had quite a bit of action. It did world build quite a bit. It made references to the place being like a huge toilet or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Was it?
Well, it talks about the rings. It really explains to you that there's different layers. Like you have to go through each ring to get out of this wherever you're at, in other words. And they need to go to like ring 6 or 7 or something like that.
Right. I like the art I liked. And that's not just because Jason Howard's from the state of Michigan. Great state, go blue. See what I did there? Yeah. But it was good. It was kind of dark. It's kind of there's a lot of panels that he kind of made this a little more interesting, you know, the action scenes. I really dug that. And I like how Warren Ellis kind of, you know, leans on his artist quite a bit to tell a story. I think that's really good. This is still like, it's not as good as the first issue, but it's still good.
Yeah, this is still a good book. I'm not dropping it by any means. I guess I was so excited for what I got the last time that I had this as my top. This was my one of my most anticipated books. I had it up there with my Batman. And if you guys know me, Batman is a special place. And maybe I gave it a little too much hype and I was disappointed because I set my bar too high. So it might be on me. So if you were going to score Cemetery Beach,
I would definitely give this, you know, same score as Exorsisters. I would give it a 4.
4?
It's a decent book. It's not, you know, the first issue, we probably gave it like 4.5, I think. Did one of you guys give it a 5?
I might have given it a 5. Now, I don't remember, but I might have. But I probably at least gave it a 4.5.
Yeah, 4 is, I think, is a fair score for it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll go with you on that. I agree on a 4. It's still well written. There's some great art and action, as you said. The story's moving fast. There's no time wasted. So you assume it's the same day or the next day. You know, things are moving quickly. It's one of those kind of stories. Yeah, good book. All right. Now we'd like to welcome our guest. He is a writer, podcaster, one of the co-founders and architects of the Do You Even comic book community, and now officially a comic book creator, John Robinson IV. Welcome, John. What's happening?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on?
Not much. We're just excited to talk to you about your new comic, Scorpio, and how this project is going and how you came up with the idea to do a comic book.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, first of all, because I really appreciate coming on and talking about the project and whatnot. So I definitely appreciate you guys reaching out.
Yeah, we're totally excited about this book. I mean, didn't this book reach your first goal in less than 24 hours?
Yeah, like I was actually kind of surprised. Like wow. So I launched it on I think Monday at 12 o'clock, exactly 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the next day around 10, I was out voting,
Wow.
doing early voting, and I saw it. It had hit the goal, and I was like, wow. As a matter of fact, I give a shout out to my friend Arcade, who he backed it to $25 level, but he added $3 just to make it reach the goal.
Oh, wow.
That's
To
a
be the
friend
guy who
right
put
there.
you over. Well, that's a buddy. There you go.
Friend for life.
Yeah. So I was really surprised. I was really happy about it. I kind of had to reorient because I did a lot of marketing to begin with, and like a lot of setup and pre-planning and building. And then like I was planning to like, okay, if it's not going well, then I've got these plans in place to kind of like push it a little bit. And then like we blew past all of that. So I was just like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So total switching gears now. Now it's into the stretch goal area
Right.
versus.
Yeah, I'm totally seeing like all the hustle that you're doing because I get all the emails. I backed it, I think the first day. I can't wait to get that art in my hands. But yeah, and I'm really excited for us. This is an exciting time for you.
I appreciate that. The artists are, especially the pinup artists are amazing. I want to let people know that, make sure that they don't know that they know that the pinup artist, like on the main cover, is not the same guy in the book. Usually the pinup artists are different than the comic artists. That's why I made sure I posted some of the art from the book on the page so you guys can see it. Which he's a good artist too, so it's not like take away from him. It's just I want people to know that the whole book is not going to look like the cover image, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I have you have listed a different penciler inker than you do your cover. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So I mean, but the pinup artist who's like the main cover, the guy on the cover with the bluish looking thing, his name is we call him GV Art. His like online name is GV Art. His real name is very close to that, like Gavart. I don't want to butcher his name though, but we call him GV Art. And he's actually gonna be doing a whole lot of the pinups and stuff going forward, like of different characters, because there's like the characters I've released are like not even the tip of the iceberg. You know what I mean? So there's countless characters in the book. But yeah, going forward, he'll be doing a lot of the pinups to show their awesomeness.
Yeah, excellent. Go into that. I mean, the concept of the zodiac is big in this book from what I've read. And so I'm assuming you're meaning that there's a character that represents each zodiac sign.
Exactly. So the way the book is set up, it's basically like this. The book is called Scorpio, right? It's a very character focused book. As in like, there's some books that are like team focused, like Justice League and Avengers and stuff like that. And they have like some big threat to whatever is a fight. This book at least starts off more character focused, so you really get some insight into the nuances of the main character, Daniel Shim's life. You understand. Okay, he's a 26-year-old. He's a millionaire. It's like, okay, he's really young, makes a lot of money. He's got a family business he's running. Parents are gone, but he's watching his brother, or he's the not watching, but the caretaker of his brother and sister. See, you get some insight into the character. It doesn't really explode into the all the powers and the it's kind of I don't want to say a slow build to it, but it definitely establishes who the characters are. I can't say slow build because like once it gets rolling, like it gets rolling. So but it definitely spends some time to establish who the characters are and kind of like how they think about their take on the world, their personality. So but there are 12 relics in this world, and one of each of the 12 relics corresponds to one of the zodiac signs, one of the American zodiac signs. Now some people have asked about the Chinese zodiac, and I'll just say hold tight. So I have not forgotten about the Chinese zodiac, so that'll be implemented also, but just hold tight. But yeah, the ones like Scorpio, Aries, Aquarius, all those are addressed. But of course, the book is called Scorpio, and it focuses around this main character who is a Scorpio, and he has the Scorpio relic, okay, which is called it's called the Sword of Shadows. It has two names, either called the Sword of Shadows or the Devil's Tail. Most of the time, it's called the Sword of Shadows, though. Anyways, this guy has this weapon and he hid it away because he didn't want anybody to know he had it. And then some people found out that he has it and they're mad. So that's pretty much the long and short of like how things get popping off, So that being said, there are 11 other relics and 11 other people that can potentially hold these relics and gain the abilities from them. Okay. So there's specific abilities that match up with the relic. For example, I could tell you this: the Sword of Shadows. The person who holds the Sword of Shadows, first of all, think of it like a lightsaber, right? It's just the hilt. Okay? If you look at the main image, you can kind of see the shadows that come out from the hilt. Well, the blade of the weapon is actually made of like mystical shadows, right? And it grants certain abilities, like first of all that the shadows twist and turn at crazy angles. So if you're a swordsman, you're not going to be able to have a regular swords fight with this guy, because he could do stuff that you can't do with a regular sword, like turn it into like a whip-like form and all kinds of crap, making it pretty freaking dangerous, And then he can, and then the Sword of Shadows can also help shroud the person in shadow. If they're standing in shadow, then they can kind of conceal themselves and that sort of thing. And there's other higher level abilities that I won't get into yet, because it'll be kind of revealed with the story. But that's how all of the relics are set up. They have their base powers that they grant to the person who's wielding it of that sign, and then there's a higher level ability or higher level abilities that might go along with it. So the people who hold the relics, according to the organization called Zodiac, because there's an organization, so it's like a government organization, they're called heralds. So think of like Silver Surfer, like he's the herald of Galactus. So Danny, if he was holding the weapon, would be considered the herald. I don't know if people pronounce it herald or herald, but
Herald,
yeah, I've heard both. But he'd be the herald of Scorpio, basically.
Okay.
While he has that weapon, and yeah, so that's pretty much the basis of it. But I've released no information, except for maybe a few friends here and there, but no outside information on the other 11.
But you have released a character called Naomi Miles that I've seen pictures of. So where does Naomi fall in this?
So okay, so I mentioned Zodiac being an organization, which doesn't talk about that in the first issue of the book, but it comes up in the second issue, and it's like you'll learn quickly. It's not really a big secret. But Naomi is a part of this organization. So the purpose of the Zodiac, the organization of the Zodiac, is they're fighting in this secret war that we don't know exactly what they're fighting against or what they're fighting over, but they fight in that war, and they keep hold of the relics. So they protect them, basically. And the people that are members of the Zodiac, they hold the relics, and then they train people who are called prospects under each of the signs. So for example, Naomi is the adjunct prospect of Scorpio. What that means is she would be first in line to become the herald of Scorpio, but they just don't have the Scorpio relic right now. So she is the most skilled Scorpio of their organization, and they're kind of like separated into each of their signs. So there'll be like a group of, say, I don't know, say a dozen or so, right? That are prospects. That means possible. I guess people who are possible to be heralds in the future. They under each sign. You know what I mean? Okay. We'll say anywhere from a couple to a dozen. There's not exact numbers set on them right now. It doesn't really matter as much, but we just know that people are training under the people who currently hold the relic, to where they may pass it down to them. So Naomi is the front runner of that, and because there is no Scorpio herald right now, she's trying to go after it.
Now, in your books, diversity plays like a big role in your comic. Why is that important to you?
Word, yeah. So there's first of all, there's a lot of comics out there who just, there's been a default for a while,
Right. Oh yeah.
It's kind of like it's kind of like Superman, Batman, right. Iron Man, Spider-Man. I mean, we love all these guys, right? But at the same time, it's kind of like, all right, there's a default. It's like we kind of look. Oh, well, there's War Machine, and there's there's Falcon, and there's Storm. You got to kind of like and then when you especially, I mean, past Black characters, especially get into like get into like Mexican characters
Oh
or
yeah, don't get me
Latinx characters
started.
or Asian characters, then it starts. They were really scrapping. We're like, okay, let's see, Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Maybe we can claim X-23 now. You know,
Right.
it's just like we're like really digging. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I wanted it to be kind of a natural thing, and it is a natural thing for me. Like when I make characters, first of all, I just make the character. I make their base personality. I don't really say, oh, this person's gonna be black or Mexican or
Right.
whatever the case. I just make the character, and then I start to like add on, like, all right, what's some aspects of this person's personality? Well, what if they were, Asian? How would that influence their background? How would that, how would that influence how they approach certain situations, their sensibilities? How does their culture affect their outlook on the world? If same thing if it's whether it's a guy or a girl or whatever the case, how are they looking at the world differently? you know so I usually implement that in the later stages of a character design. um you know
Mm.
Daniel was Chinese American kind of from the beginning, um but that's just because the name Daniel Shim, for whatever reason, has been swimming in my head for like years. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Before I even had a concept, So I was like, all right, his name Daniel Shim's gonna go in this book because that name is killing me.
Definitely. Yeah, I can see that. You get that name first. It's like, I gotta use this. I gotta use this.
That's a total cool concept, especially like if like us three, we're all three culturally different on this podcast, and
Mhm.
it's awesome to see somebody represented. I'm hoping to get someone besides Frank Castle to represent me, but I'll take him.
Frank Castle. I love Frank.
Yeah, definitely. I saw that in your video about how you talked about the ability you could really get ethnically diverse because the zodiac sign, you're going to spread it out through many cultures and many nations, I think is the way you spelled it out in the video. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way. Like the idea was because, like, I was thinking about. So first of all, the zodiac itself. I mean, you can make a story about relics and not make it not be the zodiac. I could just say, oh, there's like any number of relics around the world, and people pick them up and get powers. But it's fun to make it the zodiac because first of all, people relate to the zodiac. Second of all, the zodiac has these people really dig. Whether they believe it fully or they just think it's kind of a fun thing, they really dig the personality aspects of the zodiac. And I was like, with all this wide range of like personalities, there's gotta be like a wide range of backgrounds with them too. I mean, it would just be weird to have a full lineup of zodiac and they're all white. Like that'd just be weird. It's just like, why are they all white? It's just kind of just weird, or all of any one thing really. But I just thought it was fun to like, every character as I approached them, I was like, oh, well, what different kind of background can we use for this? And these things have these to give a little bit more insight into like the relics themselves and how old they are. They're old, like they're beginning of time, almost old. You know what I mean? So these relics, when found by the person of the correct sign from a particular nation, have literally played parts in destroying and building kingdoms and empires. So it's like, and that's all over the world in different parts of the world. You know what I'm saying? And they only, for the major threat that I won't reveal yet, they only came together and formed the Zodiac organization when they were forced to against this threat. So it kind of brings a bunch of cultures together like that.
Wow. You know what it reminds me of? I mean, it feels Valiant. I'm a big time Valiant reader.
Oh, yeah.
The universe has that feel, that very, like different characters, different parts of the world. You're going deep with the history. I like it. That's
Word. Appreciate it.
yeah. How far along is the project at this point? Is it completed? Do you have a completed book?
Yeah. So issue 1 is it's pretty much complete. I said it's complete in the Kickstarter, on the Kickstarter page and video. It's like 99% complete. When I say that, it just needs some letters and a couple of colors. But I mean, there's nothing that will hold it from being complete or anything like that. So there's no risk there. you know, the colorist is just, she's been working hard, so she's kind of she's not really taking a break. She's just like, you know, taking her time. Which I told her, I was like, look, just, you know, look, we're good. Like, you can slow it down. And she's like, yeah, because, you know, she works like long hours and stuff like that. And then she works tirelessly on the book, and she actually made the video too. So
very cool. Yeah, I asked because here on our show we get deep into like the different aspects of the comic. We kind of really enjoy that. Like Fred has his favorite letterist, for example. I mean, that's how deep we get into, and we discuss all that stuff. So I was like, so how far along? And like, you know, and what I liked about the bio is that you mentioned you have a letterist. I think a lot of indie comics kind of skip that person and they pay for it later, because you can really tell when you don't have a letterist sometimes. And you know, you have a colorist, you have someone on the cover, you have an artist that's doing the art as long. How involved are you in the artistic stage of the book?
So drawing wise, I suck. I can't draw anything. Now, as far as concept behind the designs, though, that is all me conveying things to the artist. So Danny's costume, and it's still tough sometimes, even when I get somebody to draw a new picture of him. His colors are so, the colors of it are so, they're hard to get. Even if you're looking at them, they're hard to get. It's like a dark blue, like a dark slate grayish blue is on the main part, and then the other part is like a different hue of blue. But if you go too bright with the blue, then it looks like cartoonish too bright. Like, so it's like a weird balance there. And then there's like different hues of the blue on the hood, and the artist that actually locked it down correctly, it went through a few stages of getting the costume right, because Caesar was straight up. He was like, look, man, you know, some of the character designs, it is what it is. I might not be able to knock them out, so you can go to a concept artist for some of the character designs, you know. And the first issue is not a big deal because they're not just, you won't see Danny in this costume. I'm gonna say that straight up. You won't see that. It's gonna take him a minute. It's kind of like Daredevil when he's wearing the black. You know, it's gonna take him a minute before he before he gets his gear on. But yeah, it takes stages. You know, he created the first concept art of it. I went through a few different artists who were trying to lock down a look for him, and you know, took little aspects from some stuff that they put in there, took some stuff out. Finally got to an artist who nailed it. And then I'm like, okay, that's perfect. Then I take it to the concept artist who kind of takes it and draws it in a more clear light, so that we could say, okay, this is what they should all look like going forward. And then I go to like a pinup artist like GV, and he draws like what you see on the cover. You know, so it takes stages. Danny took more stages because it was just like he had so like, I'm particular about costumes. You know, they're not superheroes, so they're not wearing like tights. They have to be wearing something that's a little bit rustic. And then each design has their own kind of style. So the Scorpio style looks very Assassin's Creed-ish, you know. You see in Naomi, definitely. His a little bit, but definitely Naomi's outfit is very Assassin's Creed-like. And then, but like when you get to some of the other signs, you'll quickly see a change in the style of their clothing, like the shock. I'll give you a preview of one of the names. Sarai is the Libra. She's Indian woman. She's her outfit is completely different than the dark broody kind of look of the Scorpio outfit, you know. So yeah, we have a wide range of looks, but it's kind of hard to lock down. But that's just part of the process, you know.
Nice. Now, speaking of process, now Chris couldn't be here for this interview, and he's an intern editor at Marvel, and he wanted to know, how do you write your scripts? Like what's...
Yeah. So script writing wise, I take definitely full script approach. All right. I've been writing for a long time, like just writing in general. So I wasn't really as worried about my ability to write. Now, my ability to write a comic book, you know, first you get kind of the jitters. It's kind of like, how do I make because, you know, a novel is different from a comic. Now we get more time to kind of flesh things out, and kind of, you can take your time to get into the story a little bit, you know, because it's a novel, they expect it. Comic book, people are like, yo, I want to see somebody like I want to see somebody like explosions like right now. Like page 2 needs to be like popping off, you know.
Splash page.
But I'm not that kind of writer, so I had to find the balance with the comic book, you know, going forward. So, anyways, because I'm new to comics, I definitely write full script, and I looked at a whole lot of scripts beforehand, and one of the scripts that stood out to me a whole lot that I kind of took a huge note from, not at his level because it was ridiculous, but was Alan Moore. I was looking at one of his was it Killing Joke? I think it was a Killing Joke that I was looking at, and all the notes that he gave to the artist, so conversational, but it was so indeed, it was so much detail. Like you would think he was like an artist or a movie director himself. Like he knew exactly how he wanted the scenes to look, like down to like scraps of paper on the road. Like it was crazy, you know. I don't write quite like that, you know, but I do write full script style, you know, page, or I'll write the page number 1, panel 1. The first panel will usually have a very intense description because it's not just a description, it's also me setting up the book. Like, here's the feeling of the book, here's the feeling of this scene, this is where they are, you know. And I have some screenwriting elements, like I'll say internal, you know, Shim household or something like that. But then I'll go into more detail about like the feel of the home and stuff like that, and then I'll go into more specific details. And then yeah, after that it's a little bit more chill after the initial descriptions of particular settings and particular characters. I don't describe the characters as much because the artist will have my story Bible anyway, so they'll have all the notes of the characters outside of it. I'll just say, hey, here's, you know, Danny, or here's Amy, or whoever.
So you don't give like the Marvel ways, Chris would say, where you let the artist just run wild.
It depends on the artist, because in indie comics, you can almost change artists like man, like indie comics is harder because it takes longer between issues, so the artist might have another job, or, you know, whatever the case is, you know, it's different than working at a company. So you have to, your scripts have to be written, because my scripts are written well. I'm in issue 5 writing scripts, and like it's plotted way further out than that. So like I don't know who's gonna be the artist on issue 5, you know what I mean? But I write it for anybody to understand what I'm saying, and I always convey, hey, look, even though I say that there's 4 panels in here, if you feel like you can make it happen in 3 and it works better for you, go for it, you know. It's that communication. You let them know that, hey, I'm saying this right here, but you're also a contributor to the project, so if you feel like something will work better, by all means, you know.
Nice.
Yeah, that was.
I was gonna say you answered the second follow-up question I had, was like communication with this artist. You answered 2 questions in one.
Nice.
Very cool. So where did you find the artist? Did you just kind of search out artists at cons? Did you search DeviantArt? I mean, how does one go about finding an artist to create their own comic?
Man, it's tough. I mean, it's tough because there's so many artists. You have to find somebody. There's so many artists out there, and you have to find somebody that's good, and then within your price range. You gotta worry about your price range. Yeah. Because I mean, shoot, art can get crazy, like for real. Yeah. You gotta find someone within your price range, and then you gotta find somebody who's not only they're in your price range, obviously the quality of the art, you know, but then somebody who treats the project like you would, almost somebody who's invested in it, who's interested in it, who's willing to discuss the finer points of it and really make a good product, and not somebody who's just trying to get a check and run. You'll run into a lot of people who's just trying to, you know, pay me my page rate and then I'm out, you know, like if you get, I mean, don't get me wrong, they can do good work too, don't get me wrong, but it's like, it's more than likely, because I've experienced this. Caesar wasn't the first guy. I had another guy, and I was talking to a few people, but the guy who before him, I actually had to let him know that, look, man, you haven't produced anything in months. Like, I don't even know how I let it go that long, and yeah, like you're gonna need to produce something, or, you know, remember you had a contract, so you know, let me know. So he eventually ended up paying the money back and saying that he he was going to do it. I won't go into the full details of that, but he wasn't a scammer, but he was also like just like wasn't planning on doing the art either. I think he had other jobs or whatever. So you have to be careful with that. Finding an artist. So I found Caesar on Comic Book Hour. Comic Book Hour is a pretty good site. They're not as active as they are anymore. They were very active before, like last year, when Jamie, the main creator of it, used to do the chats every week. I think it was weekly. He doesn't do them anymore, but the forums are still running. They're not as active, but they're still active, so that you can find artists there. I found the letterer there also. Deviant art. It's like a minefield. I found Vivi there. Like, I gotta say, Vivi is the biggest positive influence on this project, and that's not to say anything bad about Caesar or anything like that. It's just that Vivi is a person who I was there, she was there, and I was able to like talk back and forth with her for like hours, just on chat, on Discord and stuff like that. Even though she lives in Italy, and I'm always up at night anyway, so it's our hours kind of crossed anyways. But I would be able to talk to her, and we discuss things, and she would suggest things, and she was really invested. It's hard to find somebody like that. You know what I mean? And that's the toughness when it comes to fighting artists. You'll find an artist. There's artists all over the place, but you got to find an artist who's in your price range, who's invested like that. Vivi's like a godsend, because I found her on DeviantArt, and most people on DeviantArt are not, they're not even professional. Like, when I mean, I don't mean their art's not professional. I mean, their business is not professional. They, I'm sorry to say, the first guy who did a couple of the pinups that people really like, he just disappeared. After, I paid him. He didn't disappear in the middle of the job, but he was supposed to do some more stuff, and he just completely disappeared. Yes, and it happens a lot. That happens a whole lot when you're looking for like promotional artists. And again, like I said, it happened with my first actual comic art interior artist. So it happens. It's just you just have to be cognizant of the fact that this could happen. Let them know up front. Everybody I contact now, even if it's just for one piece or two pieces, I tell them up front, like, hey, communication needs to be open. I don't mind how long it takes you. I'm usually not a big stickler on time, but within that time, if there's something else you're doing, you gotta let me know. Hey, I'm doing school. Hey, I went to a con this weekend. Hey, I'm whatever the case. I'm sick. Whatever. Let me know what's going on. Don't just leave me 3-4 weeks and you haven't said anything. And I paid you half up for the art. You know what I mean? So
communication. We do a lot of, that's what we do here is indie books. So we can catch that. Like some of our favorite books, you can just tell these teams are invested in a way that you don't even see it at the DC and Marvel level. Now there's a professionalism at those two companies,
right.
But I don't know if there's the personal investment that sometimes you see in the indie project. Like these guys are really like, okay, we're a team and we're going all in.
Yeah.
For sure. Especially like, just not to get off on a tangent, but if you ever read like Crowded, that whole team on that book, you can tell they're having fun, and they show the pride with like their avatars on Twitter and things like that. So you want to.
Funny. It's funny that you mentioned Crowded, because I hadn't heard of it, which is funny because I run a comic book site. It's like it's always weird when there's a comic book I haven't heard of, because I'm like, I run a comic site, like I'm supposed to know these things. I mean, I'm granted, I get it. I'm like busy. I'm not going to know everything. But a coworker in my job, my other coworker who backed the project, mentioned to my other coworker who had no idea was a comic book head that was working on a comic book. Like we've worked for he's been working here for months. And I did not know he was a comic head. And he's like, oh yeah, give me the link and I'll go support your project and stuff like that. And he's like starts talking about a bunch of indie comics, and he mentions Crowded. And he said the same exact thing that you just said about the creative team on Crowded.
That team is just, you could just tell. That's why that book hits it out every time it comes out, because everybody's doing their job. Are you gonna have someone help you design? Did you have someone help you design it, like a graphic designer, or did you handle that too, like getting it ready for print and all those like things that people don't think about?
So for getting ready for print, so I was super noobish with that. Like I was, and even Caesar, you could tell. I mean, Caesar's, he's a younger, newer artist. course, his art's amazing and stuff like that. But he, he's learning too. So he sent the pages in all different kind of crazy sizes. And I didn't even know. So I'm just like, oh, cool. Like he's art looks good. Not thinking about the sizes of the pages, like some of them like 4 by 5,000 pixels. Some of them like 4,500 by, just different sizes, and then Vivi, who was getting them again, props to Vivi, the colorist. She's like, hey, when we get ready to like turn this to a PDF and print, that we're gonna have to like size these, right? She's like, I got it, don't worry. So she took them and sized all of them correctly after she did the colors.
Nice.
But the other designs, like the inside cover and the inside cover, I did those designs. Just some basic. I mean, I got a little bit of graphic design background, like a little bit. I'm a web designer, so
okay.
I can't draw, but like I got basic
graphic. Yeah, my background's graphic design. That's why I asked. People don't think about that because if you're writing a comic for one of the big two, they already have their logo, they have their layouts. That's all done, and there's probably a department that deals with it. But when you're doing your own, you have to do all of that.
So I think I think all those times that I was younger and just playing on Photoshop for no reason, like with like no end goal. I guess it paid off somewhere, right?
There you go. Yeah, excellent. Very cool. Well, let's talk about the Kickstarter a little bit. You said that we were onto the stretch goals, but there was a couple things I noticed that I had some questions about. Like, what are these interviews exactly that I see that are incentives? Are they new interviews? Because I know you've interviewed some of these people in the past. I've heard some of your interviews. Or is this a unique interview just for this? Or
yeah, okay. So these interviews are unique just for this. So some of the interviews are because I know them. So after talking to them before, now we're cool and we talk regularly. So it was easier to reach out to them for interviews. But they are different interviews from the other interviews. So the other interviews were kind of more general. Okay. These interviews are very specific about industry work and process. So I wanted to make sure that it provided value mainly for the creators out there. People who they're like, I want to be a screenwriter, but I don't know how to get into it. Well, Eric and Julia Lee Wall from X-Men animated series, that's the one you want. Oh, it was, oh my gosh, it was excellent. Like, it was excellent. Plus, they like to talk, and we love talking. Like, me and them, like, I met them in MomoCon. Like, we knew each other on Twitter already. I met them in MomoCon. We talked for a long time there. And then we talked more on Twitter, and they were like, let's do this interview. So it was like, they talk about their backstory, how they made it, which is just inspirational. I mean, freaking X-Men animated series, man. It's inspirational. And then they talk about, like, the ins and outs of, like, how you do it, Like, that was the focus on all of these interviews, is how do you do it? How do you write? How do you get into the comic industry? How do you get into screenwriting for TV or movies? That's what these interviews are focused on. Whereas the other ones were kind of like more just general creator interviews. So
Gotcha. Yeah, because you have a hell of a lineup in those interviews. I don't know what I was gonna choose. Fred chose you took Thompson, right?
Yeah, I took Kelly Thompson. It was between like Brian Edward Hill and Kelly Thompson. You had so many like good creators that I liked that I was like, I had to pick Kelly because she started in podcast world first, so I had to pick her.
Well, here's a good thing. Here's a good hint right here. Here's a little kind of inside information, not all the way inside information. So if I'm assuming you're already back at 35, right?
Yep.
Okay, so check this out. There's one of the stretch goals. The next stretch goal, as a matter of fact, because we just hit 5,000, like today. So we passed that stretch goal, which gives us the script. So everybody has access to the script of Scorpio. Everybody at the 25 level. So there's always incentives to get people to bump up a little bit. So if you were at 15 and you want the script, you go to 25 and you get also everything that's at the 25 level plus the script. I try to stack it. I want to make I want you to get more stuff. So the next stretch goal though is if you I'm going to make it $5 more. So instead of 35, it'll be 40, but you get all of the interviews. Okay. So instead of just picking Kelly or just picking Brian or whoever, $5 more, you get all of them. In addition to, hint, hint, there may be some other interviews to get added on later. Maybe.
Ooh.
I say maybe because it's not in stone yet. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll just say there's a high possibility that there will be other interviews added. So if you get the 40, you get all of them.
So
Nice.
someone who hasn't backed yet, because you caught me right as I backed someone else, our other friend from Do You Even comic book, I gave him a back. But I should you go for the 40 one then, or which one? And then I would get all of that, what you're describing.
If there's the $35 one, the good thing about the $35 one is that you get I keep trying to tell people that if you care about the story, a lot of people, Naomi is a popular character. Like people don't even talk about Danny. They're just like, okay, Danny, but okay, I want to know about Naomi. Like, like what's up with her? You know, you get that short story at the 25 level, right?
Oh, okay.
That short story probably important. Like, I'm just saying.
Okay.
It's not a comic book, it's a short story, so you gotta read. Sorry guys. I don't
okay.
like reading without pictures, but it's a short story, and it gives you some pretty deep insight into the kind of person that Naomi is. So I always tell people that, look, if you could do the 25, obviously you get the idol commentary also, and then you also get the script now because of the what you call it, but you get that, and then with the script plus you get a creator interview of choice at the 35 level, plus you get a print. Like, I'm kind of like 35 is not a bad level, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, like
that's usually where I go, around the 35.
Yeah, 35 is not a bad level for. I was trying to stack like as much. I was like, wait, what else can I add? I kept trying to add extra things, which as stretch goals get unlocked. One of the later stretch goals is another print. You know what I mean? Okay. That'll be at the I think the 35. I gotta look at my notes again. I think the 35 level also. So yeah, it just stacks. And then if you want to pay the extra 5, and say you want to listen to Kelly, but it's like, I'm also kind of interested in TV. How do I get into that? Then, get that. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the Brian Edward Hill interview, my dude is on another level. Brian is. I love Brian, man. That man is on another. Prior to the interview, before we even I'm not kidding. We chatted for like 2 hours. Because me and him were cool.
Gosh.
Right. We chatted for like 2 hours just talking about random stuff. Like, and then like at the end, he was like, "Oh yeah, so what's this interview supposed to be about?" Like, so yeah, Brian's cool, man. It's a really insightful interview. I mean, I was like taking notes as we interviewed. I'm like, "Yo, this is good stuff."
Wow.
So yeah, definitely. If 2 of those intrigue you, then it like. The extra $5 is definitely worth it. So
yep, you just talked it out of me after we record tonight. I'm throwing $5 more at you.
Well, we gotta reach the next stretch goal for it though. So it'll be I'll add a pledge level to it. That's 40. Because right now it's at 35, and then the whatever the next one is. I think it's the audio comic one. So yeah, it'll be added as soon as we hit the 55, and I have faith that we'll reach it.
What do you have, about 25 days still left on your
25 days.
Okay, that's not bad. Yeah, kind of talk a little bit about that. People don't understand that this isn't done just because you reach the initial.
Yeah, I've been trying to tell people like that, like especially friends and family who aren't used to Kickstarter, or friends who are like on my Facebook. They all come on, like people who said they wanted to back before, who saw that we reached the goal. Like somebody came on and said, "Oh man, I missed it," and I'm like, "No, you didn't." Like, so yeah. Let's talk about comic production really quick, okay? Comics are not cheap, man, to produce. Like a single issue, I'm talking like if you're going as low as you can go. Talking about letter, a good cover. I mean, as low as you can go. You're still talking about at least $3K, and that's going low. You know what I mean? Like they're on average about $4K. So mind you, this is not counting the printing and shipping. Like this, like I got to ship with this money. Shipping is no joke. You know, also shipping internationally, no joke. I mean, I add an international fee, but that fee is also added to the goal. So you see it like it just looks like the goal, you know. So I got to ship internationally for some stuff, and then I got to print the book out. I don't even know at this point if I'm going to have an offset run of, you know, like 500 or 1,000 copies. Like I want to get at least 500. That's like the 7,000 goal. Like if we get all the way to 7,000, I can probably do an offset of 500. But prior to that, I have to be careful because I've got to do, like I said, the printing and shipping, and then even though the issue 1's done, I'm thinking about future. Like the next issue is what this is helping to fund, because I don't want to like be in that situation where like 2 years later, oh, here's issue 2. It's like, well, dude, I forgot what happened in issue 1. Like, you know. So exactly. I'm trying to have it kind of quick fire, relatively for indie anyways. So that's kind of why it's important to keep funding past that 4,000 is just, that was the lowest that I can go. And I should have really had a 5,000 goal, but I set it at 4,000 because I actually jumped the gun. I wasn't going to launch until next month. And I was looking at the dates and I was like, yo, that's like all around the holidays and everything. Like that's, it's going to be bad. So I was like, I have to do it now. Like I was talking to I was talking to this guy who runs an indie company, and we were talking. He was like, yo, you gotta do it now. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. You gotta keep the audience growing. The audience building is so hard, man. Like it's no joke because there's so much content out there. There's so much content. I mean, there's people who even though we hit the goal and everything, there's people who said that they were interested, and then you know, we get to the point where it's time to launch and then they're not there. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's not their fault, really. It's just the nature of it's 2018. There's content everywhere. You know, I was caught off guard. The Soul Calibur 6 came out just now because I was like, I was hawking it, you know, and I was like, oh snap, it did just come out because there's so much content, you know, and they're huge. They're Soul Calibur, you know, so it's like if you can lose sight of stuff like that, then someone can. It's easy to lose sight of like a small comic, you know. So
and the right now culture of I want it now is, you know, you have to understanding that with a Kickstarter, it's not going to be at your doorstep tomorrow. So.
Yeah. And also how early you introduce. I announced on the beginning of September that, hey, I'm working on a comic book. I mean, I told some friends and stuff here and there, but like to the public, I announced that, yeah, I'm working on a comic book. Everybody seemed hyped. Everybody who knew me, happy, good response, stuff like that. But even in between that month, people are still it wasn't that it dwindled. I don't want to say it dwindled. It's just that people start asking, well, where is it? You know, is it here yet? Is it, you know, well, it's going to be November, like, oh, okay. And you can tell that, you know, the excitement starts to like kind of die down because it's like, you're waiting for it. So,
yeah,
this definitely, like, man, if people are listening to this right now and they hear your world building and everything, man, I'm more jacked up for this book. I'm really excited, man.
Yeah, really I appreciate that. Yeah, there's so much. Like that's why I want to produce it quickly because I know the kind of writer I am. Like the first issue, fun stuff happens, but it's not like explosive. It's not like what's a really explosive first issue? It's not like West Coast Avengers #1 where there's like land sharks, okay?
Nice.
I mean, stuff happens, but there's so much to explore, and once it gets rolling, like I'm telling you, like issue 1, I can't say what happens, of course, but like you could tell that as soon as at the end of issue 1, it roll, it's rolling, like it's going. It's kind of hard to stop it, you know, at that point. As I'm writing, I'm trying to figure out where can I introduce like certain things about these characters because the book is rolling now and I got to make sure that I, you know, implement these things as the story goes on. You know, it's one of the battles when you're writing an ongoing series, you know, and then keeping people interested at the same time, making sure action is still happening, you know, which trust me, there's no issue with that going forward.
I guess one last thing I'd ask you is, do you kind of wonder why a comic versus a novel? Because you know how you're having to hold back your story, where if you did a novel, you could get your whole story out there.
Yeah.
A love of comics, or
Well, first I want to make the comic, so yeah.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
the first thing. I was like, okay, comics, dude. Like I love comics and I love writing. Like, you know, I'm not. I know there's some writers, and there's nothing wrong with this. That's cool with them. I know there's some writers who just like comic books, so they start writing because they love comic books. But I also love writing. You know what I mean? Like I can write a novel, no problem. I'm working on a novel right now. I mean, I write on every NaNoWriMo every year and then put down to work on comics. but I really need to finish editing it. It's the first novel is done. I gotta just edit it and get it out there. But I enjoy both. It's just that I enjoy the comic book medium, and so I wanted to be able to tell stories through that medium also. And then there's certain things about the Zodiac or about Scorpio that is like, you know, it might be cooler to see the Sword of Shadows whip out and, you know, do a twisting helix around Danny's body than describing it in the book. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I got some descriptive writing skills. I can make it happen in the book, you know. but
Yeah.
like to see it though, like let's give that job to the artist to make it look cool, you know.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, it's kind of like I like both art styles, of course, but it's, you know, that's why I wrote this short story, you know. I'm always going to be writing like little stories on the side, you know. But it's the medium, you know. There's no way that I can be me being me right without writing a comic book.
There you go. Fred, do you have anything else?
I guess like before we go, how about you pitch this book to the listeners?
Oh, word. Okay. Well, basically, you've got a you've got a guy who's a man. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna like read word for word a written pitch or a written log line. But I'm just gonna give it to you like this. You got a guy who's got this super powerful weapon. All right, he's hiding it away, unbeknownst to him and everybody else in the world. There's a war, like a raging war, going on behind the scenes, like on Earth, but you know we don't see it. Okay, both sides of this war want this thing that he's hiding. Like, you know, they're both like, we need this to win, to get the upper hand or win this war. Okay. Then at some point, at the same time, they both find out that he has it. So it's kind of like this guy's kind of screwed, isn't he? Like, you know. So we're kind of hoping that the more benevolent, but what's that word? But benevolent. I can never say that word correctly.
Benevolent.
But benevolent. Let's hope the good guys or the better guys of this side of the war, because who knows if they're good or bad. They're just on opposing sides. But let's hope that the more morally sound people first. That's what we're hoping for. And that's pretty much how the book works. And then of course there's, you know, he only has one. There's 12 total. So there's one relic that they're looking for, but there's 12, and all of the powers, they're almost overpowered, like for real. Like I didn't explain to you guys the higher form of the Sword of Shadows, but it's kind of stupid. Like it's
Wow.
it's everything has a higher level of like, how are you supposed to fight that? But as the book goes on, you see how they fight it, and you're like, whoa, got it, you know.
Awesome.
Oh, and real quick, also there's I just released on my last Kickstarter update. So if you guys go to the page, to the Kickstarter itself, there's a little contest there. So I mentioned earlier that I've only revealed Scorpio, the Scorpio relic and character. Okay, the contest is you guys vote for, just leave a comment, you know, just voting for I let people pick two, your favorite sign. Okay. I said on a live earlier. I was on Kickstarter live earlier. I said I would give it until 3 days. I might give it a week. I'll see. But after a few days, I'm going to pick the highest voted sign, and then I'm going to release that character and character information and the relic of that sign. So whatever gets voted the highest is what will get released. And we may also get a pinup of it. And then based on people's response, that pinup may become a second print that gets added to the Kickstarter. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, so we'll see how it turns out. But this is fun because it's kind of like I don't know what's gonna get picked.
Cool.
We don't even know what sign and what's gonna be revealed, and what it might tell about the story, what insight it might give. So it's kind of fun.
What are you, Fred? I'm a Capricorn.
I'm a Aquarius.
Aquarius, nice. Capricorn, Aquarius. Capricorn actually shows up sooner than later in the book. Aquarius, you'll see sooner or later in the book, but it doesn't really show up all the way yet. But I just revealed something there, right there. I said
You
Aquarius
just
is the
teased
key.
it.
Yeah.
We can edit that out if you need.
No, it's all good. Yeah.
Bleep. Yeah, awesome. Very cool. All right. It was great talking to you about this. I'm excited now. I haven't backed yet, but I'm going to back this week.
Word.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm totally excited. It's sounds like a great world building. Sounds like I was just seeing like the effort that you're putting into this book on social media.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of emails I get, man. You're showing how hard you have to work to, make your dreams come true.
Oh yeah, man. It's work, but if you love doing it,
Yeah.
yeah, if you love doing it, then it would still work, but it's easier to get through the work,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely appreciate you guys getting me on here.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
Do you have a link we can share of the Kickstarter, or they just go to Kickstarter and look for Scorpio? Is that
so? What I found when I go to I'll double check again right now. But what I found when I go to Kickstarter and you search Scorpio, it does not pull up the book, which is weird. But which is so weird. I'm like, oh, actually, no, I lied. Huh? Maybe it was just yesterday. Never mind. It's the first thing there.
And then they can go to your page too and find a link on your Twitter page, huh?
Yes. So you can search Scorpio on Kickstarter. On my Twitter page, it's pinned. On my Facebook, if you look up Scorpio Comic on Facebook, it has to be Scorpio Comic though, because there's a billion Scorpio groups on Facebook. But if you look up Scorpio Comic on Facebook, mine will show up. And also, if you just type in scorpiocomic.com, that link takes you straight to the Kickstarter page also.
Your Twitter is at ivwall.
Yep.
Correct.
IVWALL. It's like fourth wall, but with the fourth, because I'm John Bernard Robinson the fourth.
Very cool. All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Is there anything else you needed us to mention to everyone?
Anything else you want to plug?
Our next stretch goal is 5,500. So, we're about 100 into that. We got like 400, a little over 400 left. Like it's like $404 to get there. So yeah, if you guys are anybody out there who's willing to support, I would definitely appreciate it. Become a part of the journey. Like that's the fun thing about Kickstarter. It's like yeah, if someone could put out a book and put it on Amazon, of course, and that's totally fine. But it's so cool to like have a community who's invested in a project. You know what I mean? It's like we did this together. Sure, I wrote a book and I found some artists and the artistry, but it's like we together made it happen. That's the fun thing about Kickstarter. So yeah, definitely. If you want to be a part of the project, then go ahead, head over there, and we'll get to the 55. Unlock that all interview stretch goal, and then the one that I really want to get to. I made the stretch goal all the way to 7,000 so far, but the one that I really care about is the 6,000, because that's where we get the variant cover. The variant cover, it's still in process, but I've seen it's sick. Like it's Naomi. It's featuring Naomi, but dude, it's sick.
Nice.
Yeah,
well, you guys heard we want a variant cover, so everyone go check out this project. Back it. Once again, John, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
And we're excited. Yeah.
Appreciate
People look for him on Twitter. He's always talking comic books. So.
Oh yeah, love talking comic books. I'm always like, I post what I read and everything. Like
definitely. All right. Well, thanks a lot.
Thanks, John.
Have a good one.
All right, that was a lot of fun talking about Scorpio with John Robinson IV, and now we're going to kind of get into what we might have been reading this week. just our roundtable that we do every week, discussing comic books or comic book shows or comic book entertainment or anything that caught our eye. So it's an opportunity to share some things with you from the comic book world. Fred, is there anything you want to highlight this week?
Yeah, actually there is. I came across this really good book. It's called Sarai, by Sonica Ellis. She goes by at Sony Robin on Twitter. It's about a girl named Sarai. She's a 12-year-old Nigerian girl whose small town life is shattered as she finds herself captured by an extremist organization dedicated to subjugation of women and girls. Let me just say, this is a very good revenge story. Now, this book is, it deals with some very tough topics. Stuff that we see in our everyday news with, like, human trafficking. It's a little rough to see, like, the beginning of things. It's the concept of, like, just knowing that people are like this. Not the book. It's like the real life situation to me. But man, this book is definitely a story that needs to be told. We need more superheroes like this, and for these topics to be out in public, to be, to talk about. Because in my state, I don't know if you noticed on the news, there was a huge ring bust of sex trafficking, and they did it in Upper Michigan. It makes sense to me because there's less police and things up there. Yeah. Because these are small towns and things. And it's just scary because this is so close to home. Because all the time, like, I live in, like, the Metro Detroit area, and we are always warned about kids, like, being taken away. When I was a kid, I grew up in Flint, Michigan. We could play outside. We didn't have to worry about that stuff. We had to worry about getting, like, shot at, things like that. Not like, somebody going to take you. Yeah. Do weird things to you. This is a book that I highly suggest to read. Take a chance, get this book. You can get it on Amazon. I think it was like $5. I want to say it's about the size of 2 to 3 issues of a normal comic book, I believe. It's a good read. I hope that we can get her on a show in the future.
I noticed, I followed the thread that you were talking to her, and she also mentioned it's coming out on Comixology pretty soon too. So that's another place for people to look for it in a week or so. The art looks great. The topic, while a bit disturbing and maybe a bit depressing, you're right. It's something that needs to be talked about. And from the sounds of it, it's well written and presented in a form that I enjoy to read, which is comics. And I am not averse to politics or difficult topics in my comics when they're well written. I'm open to that. Obviously I may not read that on a Saturday morning, but I definitely am open to reading these kind of things. Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely had to check that out.
Yeah, and there's we have kids. So it kind of hits close to home.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so it's definitely I just crushed the mood here.
Yeah, you don't want to think too deeply on it, but yes, I understand exactly what you're saying. Prepare if you're going to read it to be probably in a mood for a little bit, probably some anger, probably some other things. Yeah, but I definitely want to check it out as well. That's great that you found that. You discovered that book. So you found it on Amazon is where you discovered it, correct?
Actually, I follow her, but it's funny. Like, I didn't necessarily know she was writing a book until I found Cullen Bunn started, like, tweeting about it and kind of, talking about it. So it caught my eye. When you have a writer like Cullen Bunn promoting your stuff, you had me there.
Yeah. I don't have anything at that level, that's for sure. I have read mostly Marvel this week. That's what I read. It's catching up. As you know from last episode, Chris was giving me a hard time. I'm very behind on Marvel. Also, indie books. Some indie books that didn't make the show. Did you read any of those other indie books, Fred? Any of those Image books, for example?
Like Magic Order number 4.
Oh, I haven't read that. Careful.
Okay, I won't go into it, but it's still good.
Oh, excellent.
No spoilers.
Yeah, that one got here late. I'm getting screwed by my DCBS, man. But
I read. I finally read Juke Joint. I know you talked about it. Was it last week? Was it last week when you talked about
it might have been the week before.
You know what? It was the week before because I forgot. Because we were at the hospital with my son with his surgery. I was 2 weeks behind. So yeah, that makes sense. That book is nuts. It's crazy. The things in it, and it's definitely revenge kind of action going in there. I'm interested to see where it's going. Plus, Taylor Esposito is lettering that book too, so I'm gonna keep getting that.
I'm backing out of that one.
You're not reading it?
No, I'm backing out of that one. That one wasn't for me.
No, a book that I wanna hit up is Euthanauts 3. This book stepped its game up this time.
You know what? I have that book. It came in the mail. That I ordered it before I read 2, which I was very disappointed in. But I haven't read it yet. So you're telling me that it got better, that I should get back on it.
Yeah. It's I've really enjoyed it. I'm liking where the story's going. I'm appreciating Teenie Howard's work, especially did like this week's Hack and Slash. I read that. I think that was her last one of that, and that was good.
I like Hack and Slash. Yeah. A book I read The Last Coyotes that came out this week.
Oh, yep.
It was good. You can see they're racing to the end of this arc. The grandmas are gone. No.
Yeah.
I know that kind of like takes a lot of the magic out of this book. No grandmas, no fun.
Right.
But it again, the art is just stunning to look at in that book. You just look at that like you would like a coffee table book that you have beautiful art on the coffee table and you just kind of strum through the art.
Yeah. I felt like that issue kind of got more serious, like the story took a little serious tone. Like we had a little fun with the prior 2 issues with the grandmas, and this one it's getting real.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I think you're right. I think the next issue is probably going to be the last one, and then they'll go to trade again. And they'll take some time off.
That's what seems to be the MO.
One book I want to talk about is Paper Girls 25. This is a book that you probably should read in trade form, so you can enjoy it more. But man, this book never disappoints me. This is, I don't know, Brian K. Vaughan can write like anything, and if you like Stranger Things, and not Stranger Things the comic book by Dark Horse,
be nice.
If you like Stranger Things, the Netflix show, then more than likely you're going to enjoy this book. And especially if you like pop culture, or, let me just show you, Andrew, the last picture of this.
So you're going to spoil me. What does it got? Show me it.
No, watch this.
Okay.
See that? Yeah. You got to get to 25 now.
Gosh, trade number 1.
Oh boy. See, the thing is with like this series, I kind of I read the first 3 trades probably in like 3 days because it sucked me in that guy. But of course, we all have to find time, and this is definitely a book that, once you hit your groove, you'll enjoy it. And Brian K. Vaughan can write anything, really. I mean, and I'll enjoy it, I think. Like, if Saga.
Yeah.
That's like, I'm not a huge fan of space, but he makes me like space.
Yeah. Saga's outstanding.
But there's this book that I picked up, and I saw it, because we get our books through DCBS, most of them, so we get discounted price. And when I go to my LCS, sometimes I feel bad if I'm not spending at least $45. Yeah. So I looked around and I found this book. It's made by Guardian Knight Studios, and it's called William the Last. And the artist and the writer, it's got like a kid feel to it. It's fun. Kind of Jack and the Beanstalk feel to it. But I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a pretty decent read. It might be something more for somebody younger than me, but I liked it. It was interesting, and I think one more thing I need to say is I know I've been hating on, it hurts me to say this, Brian Michael Bendis. But his Superman has been getting better.
I haven't started reading it yet. I just it's gonna take a lot for me to get. I'm not happy with his Superman, but okay.
Yeah. Are you liking his action?
Better than his Superman, but
See, that's where I was too. But this last issue was pretty good.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll trust you. It's up. It's back there. That's coming DCBS for me. See, that you want to know what rate's important to me. It's what I'm buying in the shop. Because I need to have it because I don't want to wait. And if you're on the DCBS pile or on that order, you're not as high on my reading list. And Superman and Action hasn't, but Superman fell into that spot.
Yeah. I could see why too.
Flash fell into that spot too.
Oh yeah, after Flash War, I've kind of I still read it. Don't get me wrong.
Well, yeah.
It's just I'm just not. I don't know. It's just not enjoyable right now. Mm-hmm. But we'll see.
Yeah. I haven't dropped it. I mean, I'm still buying it. Just buying it at a discount. Yeah. I'm willing to wait and get the discount. Where other books. I want it so bad I'm willing to pay no discount. So
right, it's kind of what's crazy is I was thinking about you and I like when we talk about books that we don't like, but we still buy them.
Oh yeah.
I was trying to think of like books between Marvel and DC that I don't buy. I think there's 3.
Oh, there's more than that for me. If I don't really like a book. I mean, see, when I say I don't like a book that much on the show, that means I'm disappointed in the book, but I don't hate it. The books that I don't like, I don't talk about. So that's why you haven't heard about them. There are some DC and Marvel titles I'm not buying. Like, I'm not buying the New Age of Heroes anything.
Yeah. You know what? That just went up a little higher. I forgot about those books.
Yeah, I'm not buying any of those. Well, do you have anything else to throw out, or are we going to go ahead and call it a night on big episode 10?
I want to do like a shout out to like the people like podcasts that shout us out and some of like our loyal listeners that, retweet, share our posts, interact with us. Do you mind if I,
Go for it.
Shout them out? Okay. First, I want to start off with the Pop Culture Cafe. John and Scott there, they talked about us quite a bit. I just want to say, hey, John, that's right. I'm all grown up. I appreciate all the support you guys have given us, and thanks for all the shout outs. Professor Frenzy, Chris and Jerry. You can find them at Professor Frenzy and Chris at BTO and Bad Books. Great podcast. Love their show. They highlight some books that we may have missed.
Yeah.
Which is, sometimes like I'll add them to my reading list before I head to my LCS. Of course, the Cool Ass Podcast, Leo and Hiram. That's right, guys. We know what intro music should sound like. Andrew said when I came up with the B, he said, I'm not sure about it. He asked his daughter. She approved.
Yep. That's the teenage approval, man.
Yes.
Not the old man approval.
Yes. Nation of Nerds podcast. Mark, Rico, and Hiram. Man, those guys are a really good group of guys. I thank each one of them for everything that they've helped us out with. It's great to be a part of that family. Some of the people that I want to shout out is Gian at Giancarlo. That's my dude. Thank you for all the retweets, John. Sometimes I might not see all your free follows, but I hope that you know that I would interact at any time. Also the Nerd Grounds, Necron at Nerd Grounds. Thanks, man, for all the support, retweets. I'm glad that you're starting to dig some indie comics. He said that he's starting to pick up some because of us.
Nice.
Jared, thank you for all your retweets. At Ronnie Barron, RonBar316. Probably the best Aftershock podcast in the business. Thanks for your support. Martin Loves Comics. Peter DeViblis. I'm sorry for butchering your name. Anthony at Brooklyn Batman, thank you, man. Thank you for everything. Retweeting us, help promoting the show. And Lobo Black Wolf at LOB033. Thanks for all your retweets as well. If I missed anyone, I'm sorry. It's Friday. My notifications say about 55 when I log on.
Yeah, that's what happens on Friday.
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and toss out a few shouts of my own. First Issue Club has always been good to us. They supported us since the beginning of our podcast. I definitely want to throw a shout out to Mr. Chris Holmes, who is not here tonight, who is part of our podcast team. Can't wait to get you back, buddy. And Nation of Nerds, of course, for what they've done to help get us started. Who else? Shout out to your boy Joey, because he's doing our promos. No, seriously, folks. I do these promo pictures that we do. I started doing them. I have a background in graphic design. I'm doing these on Photoshop. His son took the photo on his own, figured it out on his phone with an app on his phone. You know, I'm over here in Photoshop with an app on his phone. He started recreating my promo images on his own. And so we said, hey, go ahead and see what you can do. And it's his job now. I can't wait to see what he does next. We're going to throw something a little different at him next week. We're going to have him toss up the design. Let's see how he does. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's a good way to keep a 12-year-old busy.
Yeah, but I love it. I love that he just, he didn't like balk and say, well, I can't do that. He probably has something fancy. He just said, let's see, I can figure out how to do it.
he feels like he's part of it.
Nice.
It's a good feeling. He enjoys it. He actually was asking me what books to put out. I don't know how he does it so quick. I don't have the patience for that, and he can knock it out in like less than 4 minutes. I swear, it's so quick. I'm like, wow, okay.
That youthful energy.
Yeah, and maybe it's like his eyesight is way better that he can line up things real quick. I don't know.
Yeah, I could never work on the phone. God no.
No, it's and he has like a galaxy, and I'm like, what are you? How does he do that? And he's like, how about this? And he's like sending them to me right away, and I'm like, whoa, okay, that was quick.
Very crazy.
Yeah. But definitely we do miss Chris tonight. Wish he could have been here. Busy man. Great teammate. Miss his energy tonight, that's for sure. Yeah.
So here's to 10 more episodes. Let's get to 20 now.
That's baby steps. Maybe 15 first.
No, we're gonna swing for the fences. You're wearing a Yankee hat. We're swinging for the fences.
You gotta represent. I'm doing this for Chris because he's a Mets fan. Okay.
Oh my.
All right. You want me to hit the road, sign us out right now?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'm not going to mess this up like you guys the past couple weeks, but just like the streets we call our home, show some love for the creator own.